The prep schools are looking for interesting kids, right? I read a book on, I think it was an author that followed or was embedded in an admission office at a high academic liberal arts college in New England for a year and got to see behind the scenes on how this school tries to get kids. And the key takeaway from that book is be an interesting kid, right? You'll go way farther than that. If you're just for basketball, that's fine. We can find spots for you, but it makes it easier and you'll have more coaches betting, buying for you to join their program if you're an interesting kid.
About signing at the prep school, is that a legally binding contract that a kid signs? So like if a D1 or if anybody comes calling, they can't take that offer if they've already signed at that prep school?
Great question. So when you sign a contract, you have to put down a deposit, right? And that's a non-refundable deposit. So we have this happen about every year to where a kid will commit to a prep school, put down a deposit, everyone celebrates. And then in the summertime, they have an offer that comes up that they can't refuse. And they take it, right? And I've had a lot of kids take D1 offers. And the coach at the prep school level is a little bit disappointed. But at the end of the day, the whole point is to get to the college level, right? So they're disappointed for a second, and then they're happy for the kid. So all the kid is out is my fee and the prep school deposit. But I call that a dream tax, right? Like you're out that little bit of money, but you got a scholarship at a school that you thought was better than taking your chance in the prep school world. And we celebrate that. So yeah, you don't get that money back, but that's okay.
What is a typical deposit fee for? Is it 5%, 10%, like, or is it all across the board?
It's all across the board, but it's usually not more than $5,000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, that just popped in my head with that. Like that's something with that. So how often does that post-grad or prep school lead to a better opportunity for the kid, whether it's financially or fit-wise with the kids that you've worked with?
We've had everything across the board, right? We've got kids that have gone to prep school and, they're D3 player. At the end of the day, they're still a D3 player and they go to the school that initially recruited them, right? However, that kid is now stronger, faster, more skilled, knows how a college classroom works, knows how to be away from mom and dad and take care of himself and, turn in assignments without anyone looking over their shoulder or getting to the gym at 5:30 in the morning without dad waking you up. So that kid, if he goes to the same school that was recruiting him, he's ready to step in and contribute both in the classroom, but socially and on the court, right? So to me, that's a success. On the other end of the spectrum, and we've had this just last year, you will have kids go do a post-grad year with no offers at all, and they come out with a full D1 scholarship. And we had that happen with one of our clients. She was a 6'1" center from Davis, California, blew her knee out end of her junior year. So she missed all of her senior year except 2 games, had nothing. Did a post-grad year at Western Reserve Academy, and now she's playing on a full scholarship at the University of New Hampshire, right? So that's the other end of it. And then there's everything in between, right? Mm-hmm. So in the old days, when college coaches were recruiting more high school and prep school players before the transfer portal, before COVID, in the open gym period, a kid from my high school in Kentucky went to a prep school, and 2 weeks in, he had such a great open gym period, got offered by Bryant and took it. So that would happen fast. And kids are still getting offers these days in the open gym period, not as much, but it's still happening. And kids then got to decide, do I take this offer in hand or do I play the season out and see what happens in the spring? The challenge a lot of families are dealing with now, and I know you guys are having these conversations on your end as well, is you got to be patient. Like you got to wait till the season ends now, right? And then you got to wait for the transfer portal to settle. And then that's when the prep school coaches do a lot of placements. And that's nerve-wracking. I get it. For the families, it's stressful. You don't know who needs what or where it's going. But every single year, I've never once had a player not be placed. Now, they might not be placed at a school they like, but go there, kick butt, put your name in the portal, go somewhere else. It's not a guarantee, but it's more common now. And you guys help with that as well. So it's just, you got to adjust with the times and how things work if you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, that's something that being in a space for the last 4 years, the commitment of kids has been pushed further and further back. Like you said, like you're saying, Cory, when we were all playing, like pretty much by the end of your season, most guys knew where they were going. Right now, it's May. It's June. It's not uncommon. So.
Yeah, if you don't get offered early and you play out your season, you're waiting until May or June because that portal opens up in April, and every coach in the country at most levels are going to wait and see what's coming back on their roster and what's going to be going into the portal, and they'll circle back to high school kids, in May or June. But Cory, can you walk us through your typical process from the time a kid reaches out to prep athletics to the day he commits to a prep school? Can you kind of walk us through your entire process with players so families and kids that are listening can understand what you guys do?
Yeah. So if we decide to work with a family, well, first of all, families that fill out the free assessment on our website, the ones that pass kind of our check marks for a phone call, we'll get on a call with and learn more about their family, their situation, and their goals, and we'll explain the prep school process with them. And if they decide to sign up, we'll send them a package which has a contract. We have them fill out a bio. We get their transcripts. And then I make sure if I didn't talk to the player on the initial phone call, I talk to them and let them know what's happening, right? Once we figure out the finances, kind of what kind of situation they want, what their goals are, I'll go through my database of prep schools and narrow it down to the right fitting 5 to 7 schools for that individual kid. And every kid we work with, we reach out to different schools, right? Because every kid has different, attributes and whatnot. And then I'll put together an email that has, highlights, transcript, a little bit about the kid, what they want to get out of prep school and why they're going. And then I put in there to these prep school coaches right up front, family is willing to invest X amount of dollars per year for tuition. So I make everything very clear for the prep school coaches, and the ones that are interested will reach out. Sometimes we'll reach out to 7 coaches, all 7, get back to the kid right away. Sometimes we'll send out 5 to 7 and maybe 3 get back. That's fine. All we need at the end of the day is one prep school, the right one. So I'm never concerned about that. But the goal is to have our families talk to at least 3 prep schools. And after they have talked to these coaches, which takes about a week to 2 weeks for these guys to set up calls, I'll get back on the phone with the family and we'll talk about these calls. And I'll have the kid unofficially rank the schools based on his conversation with the coach, right? And I'll say, well, I like Coach Smith a lot at school A. And I'm like, great. That's an all-boys school. It's in the middle of Maine. Coach has been there 30 years, former D1 guy, et cetera, et cetera. And we do a breakdown of these schools and coaches. And then from there, we might narrow it down even more. And once we've narrowed it down, they start the application process. If it's in October and if it's easy to get to a couple schools, which are mostly on the East Coast, go visit first with the family and then apply. Right? I don't want families to apply to a school that they don't plan on going to, but then they'll apply and then I help them with the decision, right? I never tell them where to go, but if you've got 2 schools you like and one's got rolling admissions and gives you an offer in October and the other one we won't know till March 10th, that's a decision the family has to make, right? And I advise them on that. Once again, I never tell them where to go. If they pick any of the options, they're in a good position. I want them to pick the best fit for them. And then once they look at the contract, the money works, I can help them negotiate prices down sometimes and give them a little bit of advice on that. And then once they select the prep school and sign the contract, we celebrate, and then they move on to the prep school coach. And now they're under his umbrella. They're going to help them with the college recruiting. But once they join the prep athletics family, they're always in it, right? Mm-hmm. Like the kid I helped 17 years ago, I still keep up with on Facebook. If a kid wants to transfer, I've got people I can put them in touch with, like you guys. If the kid's not playing, if the kid's depressed or homesick, I'm always here for them. So we're a boutique agency. We do not help everybody. We're not giant company helping thousands of kids and churning them out. We are boutique, and we're very selective who we take on as a client. So we're interviewing them. They're interviewing us. But once they join, we got them for the rest of their lives.
That's great. Yeah, just like us. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, we'll just say since COVID, because the whole recruiting landscape has changed, how has the value or the importance of prep and post-grad changed in terms of college recruiting, we'll say post-COVID?
Well, my opinion, and this is why people hire you, is high school players need an advocate, right? This game, fair or not, is about who you know sometimes, right? And to me, prep school coaches are some of the best advocates in high school basketball, right? And you need that in this day and age because these prep school coaches, part of what you're paying for in tuition is they have to place you in college by the time you're finished with your prep school career. Like, it's not an option. It's not an option. So every year, these prep school coaches have to place kids from the high major level to high academic D3 to everything in between, right? So you need an advocate in this day and age. And to me, they're some of the best out there. And you especially need it now with the landscape that you guys are so familiar with, which is the transfer portal, with NIL deals, with the game getting older. Like, that's one of the biggest benefits of going to prep school, is that placement you're getting from these guys.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's a different world we're living in. And I mean, they're talking about the 5th-year rule, it's going to come out in January. I've heard mixed reviews. It's going to get passed. It's not going to get passed for another year, but there's so many things going on at the 4-year college landscape, and you throw the portal in and the unlimited transfer rules and all the things. It's made it really difficult for kids to navigate, and to have people like you, Cory, and us. I mean, kids need it. I mean, they need that advocate. They need that guide. No question about it. So that's great. What are some? I mean, you kind of alluded to this earlier. What are some of the common mistakes or red flags that players and families should be watching out for when they're evaluating a prep school? What are some of those? I know you alluded to like the basketball academies and obviously, but what are some of those red flags? I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but you can elaborate on some of those.
Yeah, when it comes to prep school, you just got to be careful if anyone promises playing time, right? I know one prep school coach that does that, and I get on him. I'm like, why are you doing that? Because these coaches are very coy on anything dealing with playing time, right? Because they don't know what these kids are going to be like until they show up either in June at the Summer Scholastic Showcase or in August at the first open gym, because they're seeing these kids sometimes on highlights and they're never seeing them in person. I got a 6'9" kid from India placed at a prep school. He had 3 black and white highlights, right? And it turns up he showed up to prep school, learned what DoorDash was, and gained 50 pounds and just was injured all year. And it wasn't really a successful year, right? But prep school coaches can only do so much with their due diligence, right? So 60% of kids that show up on a prep school campus in August are about what the coach thought they'd be. 20% are a little bit worse, and 20% as a bonus are better than they thought, right? So playing time, it's not socialism, right? Everyone does not get the same amount of time. These coaches want to win, which sometimes can leave some kids not playing as much as others. So the biggest challenge I have is talking to parents about playing time. And they go, I want to go to a great school with a great program and make sure my son or daughter gets playing time. And I tell them, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what playing time is going to be. We do know if a school traditionally has about 10 D1 guys, which are your schools like your New Hamptons, your Brewsters, your IMG national teams, your Brewster national teams. Like, the writing's on the wall. Unless you're at that level, you're going to be more of a practice player, right? There's probably better fits for you. But just, we can't guarantee what that is. And, it'll be the mid-year at about this time when you start hearing from families that their son's not playing and they got to make a decision, right? So you can do all the due diligence you want. You're never going to know exactly how a prep school is going to be, right? But I say, here's how I spend that, guys. It's prepping you for life. Whether it's business, whether it's a relationship, you're never going to know 100% of anything going in. When you guys started Net Recruits, you didn't know 100%. Heck, you still don't know 100% of how this is going to turn out. I didn't know how 100% my wife was going to be when I married her, right? No one does. So this is prepping you to make the best decision you can with the information you got. And a quote I use is, don't worry about making the right decision, right? You're going to have good choices to choose from, but make your decision right and don't look back. Right. So misconceptions, playing time is just a tough one to deal with, Matt, because we don't know what it's going to be. Even good players, I've sent really good players to prep school and they don't play as much as they think, because a lot of these guys and girls are the studs on their team in high school. They're all staters. And now they get around all the other all staters and kids that are really good. They might not be the top dog anymore. And that's really tough to deal with. Also, some kids don't like going to prep school. And if they're going to a postgrad year, they got to follow some rules that the same ninth graders are following, like curfews and being in your room and no girls in rooms and et cetera, et cetera. And some kids they're ready to be on their own and not be under a high school umbrella anymore. So there are trade-offs for that. But what I say is, it's a 9-month business trip with a fall, winter, and spring break. And if your goal is college, like, you'll do what it takes and you'll be okay with it.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, Cory, you brought up a good point about that the kids being the best player on their high school team and going to a college team or a prep team where most of the kids on there were the best player on their team as well. Like that's we dealt with that when we were coaching at the college level. That kids forget that they go in and you're back at the bottom of the barrel. That you got to work your way back up. So if I'm a high school kid and I'm thinking about getting in with yourself, Cory, to start evaluating these prep schools or these postgrad, what are some things that I need to have prepared to meet with you, talk with you, do this on my own? What are some things that they need to have?
That's a great question, Matt. So 1, have your transcripts ready to go. 2, have a highlight video ready to go. No prep school coach will look at a single email unless there's highlights, right? And if you don't have a highlight because you don't play on a team, because some of my kids just can't make their high school team, that's okay. There's a workout video that I'll send you, like a template that you can put together that showcases all your skills. You'll be doing shooting inside, you'll be doing mid-range, 3-point, you'll be doing dribbling drills, passing drills, shooting drills, and then you'll do 1-on-1, 2-on-2. All that can take place within 15 minutes, and a coach can get a pretty good idea for what you've got. So have highlights, and then budget, right? You need to know like how much you're willing to invest in this opportunity for your child, right? If it's $5,000, okay. Is it 10? If you're lucky enough to be able to afford any amount that comes up, I need to know that, because once I know all those factors, once I know what your grades are, how good you are, and what you're willing to invest, I can tell you pretty quickly if there's going to be a prep school for you or not.
Schafer, before you get to your question, as far as investment, if I'm a parent, are there loans or opportunities out there to finance, or is it all you got to come up with it on your own? Like how do parents go about financing this?
Yeah, a lot of these prep schools will do payment plans to where they'll break it down over the 10-month period. You'll put down your deposit and then you'll pay the balance over 10 months. Each prep school does it a little bit differently. So I tell families, make sure you ask each prep school you're applying to how they handle that. And then there are other places that schools can suggest that give educational loans. I don't deal with that. I let the families deal with that directly, but yes, that's available.
Great. Cory, another question. I think a lot of our kids that we work with have, they're just curious about is the level of play at a prep school or a postgrad. Like we talk about D1, D2, D3, and the I. There's levels within every level. Can you kind of describe how that works at the prep school and the postgrad level? Like, I know there's big time programs. There's programs that aren't as high level as that. Like, how do you explain that to families if they ask that question?
Yeah, I'd say on the extreme end, there are teams like when I first got into this business, I placed a kid at Hargrave, who I used to coach in Kentucky, and on his team, 13 of the 14 kids signed D1. He was the 14th. He signed D2, and later, 2 years after starting at D2, bumped up to D1. So that team had 14 out of 14 players go D1, and their practice was like a knife fight, and they ended up winning the prep school national title that year, right? That didn't happen as much anymore, but that is what it used to be, and there are still teams with multiple D1 players on it. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is maybe a team that it's a little bit more casual. Not a lot of the kids are going to play in college because they might be doing it as another sport to keep in shape. It might be lacrosse players. There might be one D3 player on the team. And then there's everything in between.
Gotcha.
Right. So you've got schools in New England, and NEPSAC is pretty famous. You've got the AAA level up there, and the AAA is like your high majors, right? A lot of these teams have a lot of D1 guys on them. Teams that include South Kent, New Hampton, Vermont Academy, St. Thomas More, Bridgeton Academy, Lee Academy, just perennial powerhouses. Then you got your AA level with your Worcester Academies, your Cushings, your McDuffies, a lot of schools there. And those schools can have 5 to 10 D1 players. They might have one D1 player at the other end of the spectrum. Then you got single A, right? Duncan Robinson came out of a single A school, Exeter, right? You got plenty of D1 guys that come out of there. Then you got B, C, D. Then you've got schools not in the NEPSAC, such as Putnam Science and some others. You've got schools in Virginia, like the military academies. You got the academies in Florida that I recommend, like DME, Montverde, and IMG, and you got a couple out west. So I tell my families, I don't care what the level is, right? I know you want to get better, but one, we got to figure out where you got the best chance to play. But I'm always going to fall back on the coach, right? If you're playing in a program and you don't like the coach, I don't know how successful that year is going to be for you. But if you're not playing as much, but you trust the coach, you like him, you're getting better in practice, and you believe in him, getting you playing time at certain points and placing you at the end of the day, I think that's a success, right? That's my opinion. Not everyone agrees with it, but there's so many moving factors. These rosters are, so much happens every year with them. New players, new rosters, kids transferring, kids graduating, that the common denominator among all these is the coach, right? So I really have kids focus on that. But playing level, some kids want to be the 14th guy on a really stacked team. Some kids, based on their high school experience, like me, needed more playing time, right? So each kid, you got to meet them where they're at and put them in front of the right options and right coaches and let them have the conversations with them and see which one they connect with the best. That's going to offer the best opportunity to them.
Yeah, great.
Cory, share your favorite success story.
That's easy. Louis Tang. So I, for a couple of years in a row, went to Taiwan to work the Nike All Taiwan camp. And one of my good friends is the head of Nike basketball named Jerry Ho. And at the camp, there was one freshman named Louis Tang. And they brought Louis up to me and said, we want Louis to go to America to go to prep school. And Louis looked terrified, didn't speak a bit of English, and I said, you better keep him over here for another year. Then the next year, I went back. He was a sophomore. He was better. And I was like, yeah, I think next year we'll reclass him and he can come to the States, but he's got to work on his English. So we got him into a prep school. And after he was accepted, we had everything planned. The president of the school said, you know what? His English score just isn't good enough. We're not going to take him. And my jaw dropped because I've been working so hard on this kid. We got it all worked out financially. They were going to tutor him in English. And we had to figure out what to do. So we found a school outside of Winchester, Virginia, that just was a Chinese school that taught Chinese kids English. So we put him there. He was the only Taiwanese kid. There was no athletics. And he learned English and studied hard every single day and then trained on his own every single day with a workout the prep school coach gave him that could not take him. He ended up learning English, having full conversations, and we placed him at a school called St. Mary's Riken, which is in the Washington Catholic Athletic Association, which is in the same conference as schools like Gonzaga, where I used to coach, DeMatha, Paul VI, O'Connell. Outside of prep school, in my opinion, the best high school basketball conference in America. And he went to St. Mary's Riken, which is a good academic school, played there 2 years, and ended up getting a full ride D1 scholarship to VMI, where he started playing a lot as a freshman. And then he graduated, and he went back to Taiwan to play pro. So the reason that's so impressive, Matt, is let me take you as a 10th grade American, put you in China, learn Chinese at a high enough level to where you can go to a high academic school, get a D1 scholarship to a high academic Chinese school, and graduate. Military, VMI is not an easy school. He laughed it off. It didn't bother him one bit. But what that kid did, and to take a year off of basketball, like he could have easily gone back to Taiwan, but he said, no, I want to learn English so I can stay here. I'll work hard on my own. I don't know many kids that would do that. I've never met anyone before or since. So it's Louis Tang, who played at St. Mary's Riken and then VMI for Coach Dan Earl, and who's now playing pro in Taiwan and doing great over there. So that guy just blew my mind.
That's amazing. I barely speak English enough to get through the 10th grade. So
there you go. There you go.
Well, Cory, I mean, we love you so much because you're doing these. You help players. You do it all for the right reasons. Your process and your company is amazing, and it's personalized, and it's a comprehensive solution to get them to prep school and post grad. And we just have a ton of respect for you and what you do and how much you care. And I learn something every time I talk to you, and I learned more tonight. I know our audience did too. And how can people get a hold of you, contact you if they're interested in learning more about prep athletics and getting help to seek a prep school or post grad?
Yeah, the hub for everything is our website. It's called prepathletics.com. And like I said, the free assessment is on there. So if you're interested in learning if this makes sense for you, go ahead and fill that out. It'll only take a couple minutes. We've also got tons of articles on there about the prep school world. You know, last year I went to South Kent to watch one of my players play, and we had 2 families come up to me that used the resources on our website to find the right prep school for their sons, right? And they hugged me. We took pictures. You don't have to hire me. You hire me if you want that bespoke hand-holding experience to where I make sure you're talking to the right schools. But like I said, 97% of the people don't use consultants. It might even be bigger than that. So I might be shooting myself in the foot saying that, but we want to help as many kids as possible. And if you can find a prep school using the resources on our website, go for it. We got a newsletter you can sign up for that comes out once a month with a lot of good updates and intel. And we've got a podcast that comes out every 2 weeks where we interview prep school coaches. We've been doing that for 5 years now. It's the top prep school basketball podcast in the world. And we just love what we do. And let me just tell this story. Matt, my second kid I'm most proud of is a 7'2" kid from a refugee camp in Kenya named Johnny Ding, who found me 5 years ago. And it wasn't an uncle. It wasn't an agent. I don't know how he found me, but we got him into a prep school over here. We got him, his health back. We got his academics up. He went to a few prep schools due to certain situations, but ended up at South Kent last year, had to do summer school, had to take extra classes. And we worked with you guys to get him placed in college. And you guys helped him get a full D2 scholarship to a school in the South. And I got to see your process and how it works, and just unbelievable the amount of time you guys put in, the connections you have, the software you have. So I just want to say that I've seen you guys work firsthand with my kids, and I recommend you guys and your company to anybody out there that's looking for help. Yes, a prep school coach will place you, but that's a big expense sometimes and a big process and time commitment. If you don't want to go through that or you don't qualify, the next best thing is a college consultant like you guys. And I highly recommend you all.
Well, the feeling is 100% mutual. We recommend you back. So you do great stuff, and it's great to have you as a friend and a partner and a referral. It's been awesome. So can't thank you enough, Cory, for your time tonight. And make sure you guys hit up prepathletics.com if you're interested in choosing the post-grad prep school route. And you're not going to work for anybody better than Cory. He knows them all, and he knows the process inside and out. So can't thank you enough for your time tonight, Cory.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. It's great to see you again, and I appreciate having me on.
Thanks. We'll see you again on the next episode.
Basketball players, are you grinding in the gym but struggling to get noticed by college coaches? Your talent deserves the right exposure, and that's where Net Results Recruiting comes in. Whether you're in high school, junior college, or prep school, we help you connect with college programs, get you promoted to college coaches, and receive expert guidance throughout your recruitment journey. Don't leave your future to chance. Get exposure, get guidance, get results. Let our team find your team. Visit netresultsrecruiting.com today and take the next step towards your college basketball dream.